A third of Pakistan is underwater. That's according to the country's climate change minister, who called the devastation caused by extensive flooding a crisis of unimaginable proportions. At least 1,000 people have been killed and 33 million are affected. That's 1 in every 7 Pakistanis. Provinces like Sindh and Balochistan in the south are the worst affected, but mountainous regions have also been badly hit. Our correspondent Pumza Fulani has this report.
A moment of quiet in the middle of chaos. Inside a crowded hall, families that have been displaced by the floods in northern Pakistan have found temporary refuge. For many, it was a narrow escape.
Our houses have collapsed because of the floods. We had a home and it was enough for us. Now all our belongings are buried under 12 to 13 feet of water. When I left with my children, I saw my house collapse.
The rivers are swelling and all many can do is stand and watch. The raging floods and mudslides have forced people to flee to higher ground. On the other side of the country, in Sindh, there's been some reprieve from the rains, but swathes of land are still underwater and unlivable. Many families have settled near major roads or wherever there is still dry land. Families have been displaced across Pakistan, but the people that have been worst affected are the poor, people who had very little to begin with. The community that we found here used to live on the banks of the Indus River, which has been overflooding for weeks. They came here because this was higher ground. Many of them traveled for hours and kilometers to try and get here. Just behind me is the little means that they've been able to put together. There aren't any tents here, there's no clean drinking water, there isn't even any food, and they don't know, they tell me, why they've been neglected. Farmer Gopi has been sleeping in an open field for a week. Today, he has finally gathered enough branches and sticks to build shelter for his family.
Even when the water recedes, all we will have are these branches. Our homes are gone. We have nothing. I was able to grow my own vegetables back home, and everything is gone now. I can't even feed my children. We need help.
The floods have not only taken lives, they've taken livelihoods too. Iqbal Ali has travelled across 2 provinces, searching for suitable land for his herd. He's hoping that if he can keep them alive, then he has a chance to rebuild his life. Local aid agencies say they are doing all they can to help, but admit they are overwhelmed and do not have enough resources. Government officials who have dealt with floods many times before have said this time is different. This year's rains were unprecedented and have brought untold tragedy to the people of Pakistan. Pumza Fulani, BBC News, Sindh.
Well, I'm joined live by Pumza now, who's still in Sindh province. Pumza, it's really difficult to comprehend the scale of the disaster that's unfolding there. Are people getting help from any of the international countries, communities that are pledging support as yet?
We know that pledges have been made, that some aid has arrived from neighboring UAE and some from Turkey, but as yet, because of the vastness and the infrastructure that's been destroyed throughout the country, those distributing that has been a slow process. In communities that we visited, people are saying they have been waiting for weeks, so they don't know how long it will take then for this aid that started arriving to eventually get to them. Just where we are briefly, the people that you're seeing here lived just across the road, and they've been living here for 2 weeks because their homes are still underwater. Even though it's not raining at the moment and it hasn't been for some days, the water is not receding fast enough, so their houses are unlivable. What this has meant, though, is that because they had to flee and leave their belongings and whatever food they've had, they are dependent on local aid agencies daily to come and bring whatever food is still available and distribute it and share it. The parents here have told us that their children sometimes go for a day without eating, or 2 days even, and they've got nothing to offer them, not even water in some instances. So that is the sense of devastation that people are seeing, that they don't know if help is coming at all, and if it is, they don't know how long it will take for it to eventually trickle down to people in these sorts of conditions.
Yeah, we can see a little boy and some other children right behind you, Pumza. I think that little boy is still smiling as we can see him. But it's going to get very difficult if they don't get help soon, isn't it?
Exactly, and it's actually one of the things that people keep telling us here is that they had barely recovered from, they were already struggling with the economic conditions. Pakistan is facing an economic crisis where food prices have gone up, so they were barely getting by to start with, and these floods have laid to ruin whatever plans they had of trying to recover. You know, parents especially that we speak to say it is difficult explaining to children why they are sleeping out in the open, why they are having to sleep on the side of the road where it is unsafe, where it is loud, and under horrid conditions where it gets incredibly hot during the day and then very uncomfortable still at night. They say there are mosquitoes just along the river bend, so they are worried now that waterborne diseases will begin to come in, and they don't even know if there's enough medical care available in the country to be able to address that for them when that happens.
Pumza Fulani, thank you very much indeed for bringing us up to date there with what's going on the ground. Thank you.